Hey, and welcome to another episode
Oh, hey.
of Buzzbucks. I'm Bert,
I'm Clay.
and we're here to talk about Week 25 and all of the stuff that happened in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some stuff happened.
Some stuff.
Did
What?
not write some stuff down.
Oh my God, Clinton, do you want me to stop?
No.
Okay.
Just
Okay,
'cause
good,
I
because
didn't
we're 25 seconds into it. We can't go back. We're too far. We're too far into it. But we only have, I think, we have less than a month until the end of the season, because I believe the last
game is like the
last
29th.
games are the 29th.
And then playoffs, baby.
And then the playoffs start, I assume, a few days after that. But before we get into it, what are we drinking, Clay?
We are drinking River Horse Brewery. We're doing Triple Horse. They are from
New Jersey.
Ewing, New Jersey.
Yeah. And it's a hippo.
Yeah.
Because he's a river horse.
It's a river horse. It's a big old horse. This is Belgian style ale. It's like 9%.
It's good.
10%.
It's 10%.
Yeah, that's gonna
I
hurt.
don't know why it says plus 32 on the side of it.
I don't know either.
It's plus 32 to hit.
It's yummy though.
It is good. It is good. Well, Clay, I believe you're starting us off this week.
I'll start this week, and I'll start in the Atlantic.
All right.
Starting off with Florida.
Florida.
And staying with true Florida fashion.
First team to clinch a playoff spot.
First team to clinch a
Yep.
playoff spot with their 5-3 win over Buffalo, I believe. Yep. And they went 4-0 this week.
Oh, did they?
Yes, they did.
I have a couple teams that went 4-0 too, actually. Or at least one.
They're 48-15-6, so that makes sense why they're one of the first teams to clinch. They are the first team, but they aren't the best. The Central's a little
it's a little wonky.
Funky.
Yeah.
They beat Montreal. They shut out Chicago.
As they should.
They came back big to beat the Devils.
Oh boy.
Down 6-2. Ended up winning 7-6 in overtime.
Yeah, that's an embarrassing loss for the Devils. And an embarrassing season for the Devils.
Yes. And then beat Buffalo 5-3.
Good.
So
as they should. All teams that they should beat.
Exactly. I mean, Buffalo's been putting up a fight recently.
That's true.
But
Buffalo has been playing better.
They've been playing a lot better. Again, not great, but a lot better than what they've done.
Yeah.
So they were 2 for 13 on the power play, and then 7 for 9 on the penalty kill. So not the best special teams.
But they got the job done.
Yep. So we have 2 top players for Florida.
Okay.
We got Sasha Barkov.
Oh, good.
5 goals, 3 assists. And then
that's a pretty good week.
And then Jonathan Huberdeau had 3 goals and 4 assists.
Dooby-doo.
Jonathan Huberdeau became the Panthers' all-time point scorer in a single season in that win against Buffalo.
That was my mind.
Passing Sasha Barkov.
Oh, okay.
From the 2018-2019 season.
That makes more sense.
And then Pavel Bure.
Do you know off the top of your head how many points he has?
97.
97. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, he's close to 100. Good for him.
Yep.
Excuse me, guys. I have allergies that are bugging me.
So, yeah, he passed his teammate Barkov to do it.
Take that, Sasha.
Well, Barkov has played like half the season.
Nah, I know. He was hurt for several weeks.
They'd be right there neck and neck. And
I mean, Huberdeau might have like a lot more points than Barkov was there, and their record would probably be even better than it is.
I think Barkov is still like up there, like top 10 point scorer on the team.
Oh, I'm sure.
30 games.
I'm sure.
Behind. Yeah. He's good.
He a monster.
He good. But yeah, that's Florida. They're
a pretty good team.
Top team going into the playoffs.
First team to clinch a playoff spot.
New injuries at all this
that's
week.
good. I only have a few. Thankfully, the injury bug is lessening heading to the playoffs, which is nice.
Yeah, most of the injuries were not like IR related. They're
day-to-day stuff. Yeah.
Keep going down the line. We're gonna go with Toronto. I had to jump around because the standings changed since I wrote it up.
The standings again?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think I'm going to do that for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I'm just going to do alphabetical.
That's fair. Toronto. Second in the division. 3-0.
Damn.
This week.
That's pretty good.
Spanking Boston.
Nice.
Spanking Winnipeg.
Good.
And then spanking Philadelphia. Scoring quick math, 19 goals in 3 games.
Damn. Yeah.
Unfortunately, they let in 10, so,
That's not that bad.
10 goals in 3 games.
10 goals in 3 games, yeah, it's 3.5-ish per game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not great. And, again, I'm not going to trust Toronto until they actually win a playoff series, so,
Toronto's in a real rough spot.
Yeah.
Because this year, the Eastern playoffs are stacked.
Yeah, they're going to have to play Tampa probably in the first round.
And
or Boston,
that
one of the
could go
two.
either way.
Although, it would be nice if they had to play Boston in the first round. Could they get the monkey off their back? Because I'll be honest, Boston's not that intimidating of a team.
I disagree.
I don't know. I just feel
they're all right there fighting for that spot.
Yeah, I don't know. Boston doesn't scare me like they have in the past. Not like Florida does. Not like Florida and Carolina do.
That's fair.
And the Rangers as well. But if they could get that monkey off their back, I mean, they beat the crap out of them this week. You said.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And
what was the score?
It was 6-4. So at one point it was 6-1. So Boston did climb back.
You got to remember too. Boston
took out their frustration on the Devils. Felt bad.
Yeah, they did. But you got to remember that Boston has a young goalie too in Swayman, and young goalies are notoriously inconsistent in the playoffs.
Well,
look at Tristan Jarry last year. He had a great regular season and then a terrible playoffs.
Toronto has Campbell and Cochran. So
yeah. Oh no, I'm not saying Toronto's better, but if they have to play Boston in the first round, don't lick that. Don't lick the beer.
It's my beer.
My dog's trying to get drunk with us again, apparently. I'm just saying if they do play Boston and Swayman, it's maybe better than playing Tampa Bay and Vasilevsky. That
is fair.
That's my point.
That's true.
Now, I'm not saying that I think Toronto will definitely beat Boston in the playoffs, but I think they could. I think they could beat Tampa Bay too. Honestly,
they could beat anybody in the playoffs.
I honestly think anybody in the East can beat anybody else in the East. I really do think that.
100%.
The Eastern playoffs are going to be a goddamn war. I'm
excited.
I'm not
just stressed already.
Yeah, I already have that feeling in my stomach where I'm like, oh god, come on, Penguins, win one series.
Well, it's
this beer's good.
Yeah, it's delicious. Unfortunately, if I want Washington to win the series, they're probably gonna have to kick off Florida, and I don't want that necessarily.
Yeah, the way things stand right now, they'll have to play Florida.
That would hurt a little bit at the same time, but
it's gonna be real hard to beat Florida. Although people say that every year about certain teams, it's like, oh, it's gonna be really hard to beat Tampa Bay. They broke the record for wins in a season, and then Columbus.
They had one good period that playoff.
Chased them out in 4 games. So you never know when you get to the playoffs. Sorry, go ahead.
You're right, and I'm excited for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Sorry. 4 for 10 on the power play.
Really?
Yes.
Oh. They got a bunch of 5-on-5 goals.
Yes, they did.
/ maybe some shorthanded goals too.
2 actually. 6 for 8 on the penalty kill. Exactly. They are 44-19-5. So
it's pretty impressive. There is such a dichotomy in the Eastern Conference.
So much.
The top 8 are great. The Islanders are respectable now, and then the rest is bad.
Yep. Mitch Marner had 1 goal and 7 assists. Austin Matthews hit the 50-goal mark this season.
Yes, he was the first one to do so.
First one to hit 50 goals.
Not the only one that hit it this week either.
He is the 8th fastest player to hit 250 goals.
Really?
In his career. Yep.
Good for him. Can't wait to see him end his career on another team. I'm just kidding. Maybe.
That's rude.
Stop playing with the bottle caps.
Never.
You can hear it on the mic.
All right. Speaking of Tampa Bay, they're up now.
Yes, they are.
3rd in the division with, again, only 1 game really separating these.
Yeah. The entire standings are extremely close.
2-0-1 this week, which is what you need.
Oh my god. Jesus.
Beating Carolina in overtime.
Yeah.
Beating Chicago outright.
Good.
And then losing to Montreal in a shootout.
Ooh. That's one I bet they wish they had back.
Elliott actually stood on his head.
Yeah, but Montreal's pretty bad this year. But it just standing wise, towards the end of the season, they could probably point to that and be like, man, if we just won that game,
both Buffalo and Montreal are just trying to ruin other people's days.
There's some teams in the Metro that are trying. There's one team specifically in the Metro trying to ruin other teams' days too.
So much fun. I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
5
to
for
screw
9
over your rivals
on the power play.
Wow.
5 for 9.
Wow.
Only one game where they didn't score a power play goal.
Damn.
They went 3 for 4 against Carolina.
Yeah, they did.
And then 2 for 3 against Montreal.
Yeah, I remember I had to recheck that stat line against Carolina because I was like, did they really give up 3 power play goals? Oh yeah, they did.
7 for 8 on the penalty kill, which is good.
That is good.
Nikita Kucherov had 1 goal and 7 assists.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, they're gonna need him in the playoffs.
We've talked about this these teams basically this entire season.
Yeah, like I've said before, it's crazy how long the East's 8 playoff teams have been set.
Yeah.
The standings have changed, but it's weird that since January, the 8 teams that are making the East playoffs have been very evident.
Mm-hmm.
There's really not anybody close in the East that can challenge for that last spot either. So.
We're going to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Boston. First wild card spot right now.
Yep.
2-1 this week.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, they lost to Toronto. Then took all of their frustration out on New Jersey.
Poor New Jersey.
Beating them 8-1.
Yeah.
And then beating Columbus 5-2.
Yep.
3 for 7 on the power play. 6 for 7 on the penalty kill. Brad Marchand had 3 goals and 3 assists, and then Patrice Bergeron had 1 goal and 5 assists.
All right.
So
hopefully they're not their only offense in the playoffs.
They are not. I mean, everything could dry up, but yes.
Yeah.
But Jake DeBrusk had 5 points.
He's been playing better.
I believe he had 5 points.
Maybe it's good that they didn't trade him.
They've been spreading the love. They are 43, 20, and 5.
Man, these records.
Now we're about to get a big jump in records.
Just drop right down.
We're going to talk about Detroit.
Yep.
Who are 26, 34, and 9.
Yeah. Just fell right off that cliff.
5th in the division.
That's insane that they're 5th in the division.
5th in the division.
Yeah. They did have a playoff spot for a little while there.
For a little bit.
Yeah. For a hot minute there until December.
0-2-1 this week.
Yeah.
Losing a 2-game set to Ottawa. 5-2 both games. And then also losing to Rangers in overtime.
Yeah.
They started the week sending the Rangers to overtime, and then
lost 2 to Ottawa.
Yes.
Yeah.
2 for 10 on the power play. 5 for 8 on the penalty kill. You do not get a top player.
No. I have a bunch of teams that did not win this week either.
Buffalo did win this week.
Yeah, the Buffalo had an okay week. Right?
Shoot, here's one of the things I meant to write down. 2-1 this week.
Okay.
Jeanette, the commentator.
Right. Yeah.
They are 25, 34, and 11. So they might overtake Detroit for 5th.
I'll be honest, that's still better than I think a lot of people thought Buffalo was going to do this year. I think they really have at least 2 pretty good players in. Alex Tuck has played great for them. And Tage Thompson is a monster.
Tuck might end up being their captain.
Maybe.
He's
played great for them since coming back, since getting traded there and coming back from his injury. He has played great.
He's played great. He's
Tage Thompson,
locker room leader too.
Yeah, Tage Thompson always scores against the Penguins, which pisses me off. And then they got Rasmus Dahlin, who's a good defenseman. He's still young. There's still plenty of question marks in Buffalo, but if they can figure things out, they could be on the upswing.
100%. We've said this for years.
Yeah, I just want it to be true.
I agree. Tage Thompson hit 30 goals this week.
Yes, he did.
With 4 goals and 1 assist this week. Top player. Victor Olofsson had 3 goals and 2 assists.
Olofsson too, yeah.
Alex Tuck had 1 goal and 5 assists.
Yeah. I just want the Sabres to be good. Those people deserve.
They really do.
A good team.
They were 5 for 9 on the power play.
Wow.
Yes.
It's the same as Tampa.
Yes.
Dang.
5 for 9 on the power play. Unfortunately, they were 4 for 7 on the penalty kill.
Oh yeah, that
their wins
that makes it worse.
Were against Chicago. Sorry, they started the week against Chicago with a win.
Mm-hmm.
Lost in a shootout to Winnipeg.
Yep.
Beat Nashville at home.
They did.
And then lost to Florida, like I said.
Yeah.
But in that Nashville win, they hung in the banner for their play-by-play announcer. I can't think of his first name. Begins with an R. Jeanette is his last name.
Jeanette. Okay. Their commentator, Jeanette.
Commentator Jeanette.
Jeanette.
Jeanette. RJ is up in the banners now.
Yeah. Did you say 51 years?
51 years as
crazy.
their play-by-play. I think the entire Buffalo Sabres existence.
Yeah, it's got to be. At least close to it.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It's the entire Buffalo
Sabres. The entirety
Sabres.
of their existence.
He's been their play-by-play announcer.
Damn,
and he's
awesome.
retiring at the end of the season.
Yeah, that reminds me of Mike Lang in Pittsburgh. I wonder if he's in the Hall of Fame, Jeanette.
This was the first game. They announced that they were raising the banner for them.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first game in 2 years that they've sold out.
Really?
Yes.
See, here's the thing. Like, it just take, for example, the Buffalo Bills. They're good now, and they have a rabid fan base.
Mm-hmm.
I really do think if the Sabres could even sniff the playoffs, they'll have plenty of people supporting them.
100%.
And they'll have people jumping through tables, which would be just amazing.
They just announced that they were retiring the play-by-play.
Yeah, and they sold out.
They sold out. Everyone was coming for that.
Yeah.
So they have the support.
Yeah.
They just need to show that
they are. Well, it seems like they got a coach that, like, at least kind of knows what he's doing. You know, he's at least getting more out of Jeff Skinner.
He's getting
he's
a bunch out of everybody.
Yeah, he's getting more out of everybody.
Tell him to go have fun.
Yeah. So, like, you know, maybe they can add some more skill in the off season. Potentially, you know, maybe they get a good. This draft is supposed to be pretty good. Hence why a lot of teams were not wanting to trade their first round draft picks this year. You know, maybe they get a good player. Maybe they win the lottery. They get that Shane Wright kid, or they get in the top 3. Yep. You know, they could turn it around. They have the potential to turn it around.
Like, Buffalo likes its hockey. They just want a good product.
Yeah.
And I respect that.
Bring back Dominic Hasek.
That banner, he was hanging. His banner was hung right next to Hasek's, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, not sure.
All right, we're gonna keep going to Ottawa. Who is 2-1, 25, 37, and 6.
Yeah.
So
they might catch Detroit too.
Yeah, they're good.
Especially beating them twice this week.
Twice in a row. They lost to Nashville. It was their first game, and then again beat Detroit twice. They were 3 for 12 on their power play.
That's okay. Yeah,
9 for 9 on their penalty kill.
Yeah, those are pretty good numbers.
Matthew Joseph. We got two top players. Mm-hmm. We got Matthew Joseph, 3 goals and 4 assists. He got his first career hat trick against Detroit in the first game.
That's awesome. And
then Joshua Norris, 4 goals and 1 assist in those 3 games, and he got his first career hat trick against Detroit the second time.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Especially since Matthew Joseph came over at the trade deadline. He's, immediately playing well for them.
Immediately playing.
Ottawa's another team that I could see being better, like, in a couple of years. Being pretty good. Maybe not pretty good, but, like, the East could become even more of a bloodbath in the next couple of years.
Be like the Central.
It'll just be the whole conference.
Yep.
It'll be like, everybody's better now. Oh, except Philadelphia.
Right. Unfortunately, Ottawa's owner, Eugene Melnyk, suddenly passed away.
Yeah. Like, really all of a sudden.
Early in the week?
Yeah, Monday or Tuesday, I believe. I didn't know this, but apparently he had liver cancer or something like that. He had a liver transplant
like
at
5
some
years ago.
point. And I guess it just it started to go downhill very quickly. I did see people online mention. Well, I obviously don't pay attention to Ottawa, but I don't watch all of their press conferences and stuff. But people were saying he didn't look great at the beginning of the year.
It's one of those things where...
But it seemed like it was very sudden.
There was a lot of...
Passed away.
Yes. there's a lot of talk about how, like, for the past couple of years, about how Melnick's been a bad owner, super cheap, yada, yada. But at the same time, a lot of people also agree that Melnick's the only reason that Ottawa still has a team when he bought it.
Look, you can be a not great owner, but still be a good person.
Mm-hmm.
And Melnick he gave tons to charity.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, if a rich person does that, you gotta at least give him some credit. So, rest in peace, Eugene Melnick. Yeah, that's very sad.
It's very sad.
Yeah. When I woke up and saw that, like the night that it happened, I was like, "What the? What? He's dead. He passed away?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Had no idea he was sick.
No idea. So, people are allowed to keep things private.
Yep.
But that is very sad. Our hearts go out to his family and loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, and yeah. R.I.P.
Unfortunately, I have to turn a page.
Go ahead.
And keep going.
Yeah.
After that somber moment.
Well, we got
Montreal.
Yeah.
Montreal was 1-2.
Some dogs saying R.I.P.
Yeah.
in my neighborhood somewhere too.
I heard that too. 1-2 this week. They did have a rough go of it week-wise. So their opponents were Florida, Carolina, and Tampa.
Ouch. They won one of those games?
They
beat Tampa,
They beat Tampa.
Hey, you know what? They beat Tampa.
4-7 against Florida, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
They got shut out by Carolina, and then Tampa in a shootout.
Yeah.
0-7 on the power play. 8-11 on the penalty kill.
Yeah, that's not great.
They don't have a top player. Jake Allen played all those games, and Jake Allen actually played very well. But
yeah, I mean that's a real rough schedule for the league. Playing 3 playoff teams, and not just that, but like 2 of the best teams in the East, and also Tampa Bay, who's also very good.
So
yeah,
it's a rough week for them.
That's
it's
hard.
Kind of
that's
expected.
A hard week. Yeah,
they are 19, 39, and 11.
Yeah. Oh, we forgot to mention. Keep going.
That's it.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
I do believe that Florida is the only team that's clinched a playoff spot. However, I believe we mentioned last week Montreal was eliminated, and I believe Ottawa is also now eliminated from the playoffs as well.
I think they are,
yeah. That'll keep coming up. There's, I think... Oh, no, not Ottawa. I'm sorry.
Seattle
There's 2 Metro teams that were... also eliminated from the playoffs this week. New Jersey and Philadelphia.
Yeah, they're
and gone. Seattle and Arizona were also eliminated from the playoffs this week. Now, I think, you know what it is Ottawa is 1 point away from being eliminated.
Gotcha.
If Washington gets 1 more point or Ottawa loses another game, then they're done too. So, the teams are going to start dropping like flies soon enough.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's what happens every year. But I'm going to switch things up. We're going to start with the Central on my side of the standings, and we're going to start with the Arizona Coyotes, who actually didn't have that bad of a week, even though they did get eliminated from the playoffs.
Yep.
They went 2-2.
Yes, they did.
Look at them. 22, 42, and 5.
Better than we thought.
Hey, yeah.
Still better than Montreal.
There was a time where they had 3 losses, or they had 3 wins, like pretty far into the season, and we were like, they might not get like 15 wins. Yeah. And but yeah, so they got thumped by Edmonton. They did beat San Jose. They lost to Anaheim.
Yeah, thumped by Anaheim.
There's some discussion to have about that game as well. But then they beat Chicago, another bottom-dwelling team.
Yep.
They're really close to catching Chicago too, which is super funny. Yeah, they only have 2 less losses than Chicago.
What?
Yeah, or 2 less wins than Chicago. Chicago does have a bunch of loser points on them, but it would be really funny if Arizona caught Chicago.
I want them to do it.
They were 2 for 8 on the power play, 8 for 11 on the penalty kill. Meh.
Right.
Phil Kessel had 4 assists this week.
For him.
And you did. Oh, you know what? I'll mention it when we get to Philadelphia. Clayton Keller has a broken leg. and is done for the season.
Broke his femur.
Yeah, he broke his femur on a somewhat questionable play.
No, it was completely incidental.
I think I'm... Oh, you know what? I'm mixing up the... I'm mixing up Zucker. I'm mixing up Zucker with Keller, yeah.
No, Keller was completely incidental.
Yeah.
Went to the boards hard and fast.
Yeah, he broke his femur. So, unfortunately, he's definitely done for the rest of the year, which sucks, because I believe Keller was having a fairly good season.
He had a great season.
Yeah, but I believe... I read correctly that the recovery is 4 to 6 months, so he should be ready for the beginning of next season.
He's already had a successful surgery.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's better because it was a bone break instead of soft tissue.
Ligament tears, yeah. It's almost better to break a bone than ligament tears sometimes.
It's almost always true.
Almost always
true. But the femur...
That's the hardest bone in your body.
It's the hardest bone to break, and he broke it.
Yeah. Your femur has, the tensile strength of, some metals.
It's easier to break concrete.
Yeah. So, that's pretty crazy that he broke his femur. So, but, hopefully quick recovery, or quick as possible recovery for Keller. Unfortunately, Lawson Krause is also out for the rest of the year with a hand injury. He's not technically on the IR, but they did say he was out for the rest of the season. Yeah. And I believe it's Christian Fischer is also out a couple of weeks with a lower body injury. Also not on the IR, but I'm sure he will be in the coming days. So, yeah, that sucks for Arizona, but... Sorry. Chicago went 0-4 this week.
0-4?
0-4 to Chicago. All losses in regulation.
Oh, no.
They lost to Buffalo, got shut out by Florida, lost to Tampa Bay, and lost to Arizona.
Oh, so it was the Arizona game was the only one that I didn't.
Yeah, that was the only one that you hadn't already mentioned. They were 4 for 12 on the power play.
Good for them.
That's pretty good.
Good for them.
They were 6 for 10 on the penalty kill.
Not good.
Not as good. They are 24, 35, and 11. So if you're counting at home, I believe they only have 8 points on Arizona. So fingers crossed, Arizona catches them, because Chicago does not deserve to have anything this year. They don't get a top player. Didn't have any injuries either. So Chicago. Colorado had a much better week, going 3-0.
Yep.
They beat Calgary.
Yes, they did.
In a close game. They beat San Jose. And they beat Pittsburgh.
Yes.
They were 3 for 7 on the power play, 7 for 8 on the penalty kill. 49, 14, and 6 are the Colorado Avalanche.
The only way that they're the first to 50 is if they don't play till the end of the week and Florida has 2 more games.
Yeah.
That's the only way they're not first to 50.
Yeah. So Colorado is odds-on favorite to win the President's Trophy right now, which may or may not be a good thing, depending on who you ask.
Nope.
If you ask Washington and San Jose, not a good thing.
Heck, even Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. In case people don't know, the President's Trophy is awarded to the team that has the best record in the regular season. Doesn't really mean anything, and there's also kind of a taboo that goes along with it, because the President's Trophy team, not always, but more often than you would think, underachieves in the playoffs. Washington is notorious for that. So is San Jose.
You mean Capitals West?
Yeah. But Tampa Bay, who had...
Capitals West until Capitals actually won a cup.
Yeah. Tampa Bay, who had the best record in the last, I don't know, 30 years.
Yeah.
Got swept in the first round of the playoffs the year that happened. So... So it's not always the best thing to win the President's Trophy, because I think you get a lot of pressure put on you if you win the President's Trophy. So Darcy Kemper is Colorado's top player this week. He went 2-0 with a 1.5 goals against average and a 965 save percentage. Pretty good week for him. You know who also had a good week was the Dallas Stars.
Yes, they did.
They went 3-1 this week. Except for last night. They did beat Anaheim twice. One of those wins was in overtime. They also beat San Jose, so 3 teams that they should have beaten, and then they lost to a team that they should have beaten in the Seattle Kraken. 4-1. 4-1 was Seattle's victory. They were 1 for 8 on the power play, 8 for 8 on the penalty kill. Dallas is 39, 26, and 3. Technically, they are the first team out of the playoffs in the West, but they have, I think, at least 3 games in hand on Vegas right now. So, and they're only a couple of points behind Vegas. So, unless
they're like 2 at this point.
Yeah. So unless some stuff happens, they're gonna catch Vegas.
Yeah.
Tyler Seguin is their top player this week with 4 assists.
Good for him.
And thankfully, no major injuries for Dallas. Next up is Minnesota, who went 3-0-1 this week. They beat Philly. They lost to Pittsburgh in overtime. They beat Carolina, and then they beat Washington too. So they beat 2 playoff teams and then lost overtime to another playoff team.
Want to hear a crazy stat?
Sure.
So.
I know exactly what you're going to say. Yeah.
Minnesota played all their games against the Metro.
Mm-hmm.
They went 14-0-2.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously one of those losses was to Pittsburgh this week, and the other one was to Columbus earlier in the season in overtime. But 14-0-2 against a very good Metro division.
They did not care about the Metro at all.
Yeah, they were unimpressed by the Metro this year. They were 3 for 13 on the power play, 9 for 11 on the penalty kill. Minnesota is second in the Central right now, obviously behind Colorado, with a 43-20-5 record.
Central's crazy.
It is the playoffs. The playoff seeding in the West is starting to
lock in.
What's the word? Yeah, lock in. Kind of like become more clear.
Yeah.
It was a little close last week and the week before, where like Vancouver and Winnipeg were still kind of in the running for it, but not so much anymore.
No, they're done.
I would say really the only spot that's in question right now is Vegas' spot.
And even then, it's not.
Even then, it's not really, because it's really Dallas' spot.
Dallas'
Unless Dallas falters on the way, which, could happen, the Western Conference playoffs are starting to coagulate and be, do you like that vocabulary word?
Look at that SAT word there.
Start to be more clear. Minnesota's top players this week were Joel Eriksson-Ek, who had 2 goals and 3 assists.
Yeah, he did.
And Marc-Andre Fleury, who was 2-0 this week with a 1.00 goals against average.
Wow.
And a .972 save percentage.
Wow.
He's splitting time with Talbot right now.
Because Talbot is hot.
Because Talbot is on fire as well. Marc-Andre Fleury's just statistical numbers were better this week. But, obviously Talbot went 1-0-1 this week as well.
Yeah.
Moving on to Nashville, who only played 2 games this week. And they went 1-1. They beat Ottawa, like Clay mentioned before, and they lost to Buffalo, like Clay mentioned before. Did you spill your beer?
Nope.
Oh, it was the bottle opener, okay. Nashville currently, I believe, is number 4 in the Central Division at 39-25-4. They were 0 for 3 on the power play in those 2 games and 6 for 8 on the penalty kill. Michael McCarron had 3 goals in those 2 games.
Wow.
As their top player. St. Louis, who is currently 3rd in the in the Central Division.
Yep. No, that's not happening.
I heard that immediately. Ruthie found her favorite toy we forgot to hide.
Yep.
But it squeaks very loudly when she plays with it. St. Louis also had a good week, 3-0-1. They're 3rd in the Central right now at 38-20-10.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Vancouver twice.
Yeah.
They lost to Edmonton in overtime, and then they beat Calgary. Pretty good win.
Yeah.
They were 2 for 8 on the power play and 5 for 5 on the penalty kill.
That's what you want on that penalty kill.
Rob Thomas, not the drummer, the hockey player. Was he a drummer?
No,
he was
the
singer.
He's
he was
the
the
leader
singer, right?
of Matchbox 20.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Sorry. Not the singer, but the hockey player. Had 3 goals and 4 assists this week. I messed up my own joke.
Yeah.
We got to restart the podcast over.
That's it.
Cut that out, me.
Bleep it.
But yeah, that's St. Louis, who also had a good week. Who didn't have as good of a week was the Winnipeg Jets.
Nope.
Who went 1-2 this week. They went 1-1. Wow, Ruthie. I didn't mark down that they lost lost in a shootout to Buffalo.
Yeah.
And they got thumped by Toronto, as Clay mentioned before. And then they also... I'm sorry, they beat Buffalo in overtime. That's where my confusion... Or in a shootout. They lost to Toronto, and then they lost to LA. 33, 27, and 10 are the Winnipeg Jets. 1 for 10 on the power play, 7 for 11 on the penalty kill. Nikolai Ehlers is their top player. And he had 2 goals and 2 assists in 4 games. Are you happy with your decision to play tug of war with my dog?
Well, it's either this.
Well, she was going to growl at you.
She was either going to growl at me or this is going to happen.
Yeah.
So, we're going to start off with Calgary. Because we're in the Pacific.
Give me the toy. I'll play tug.
Alright, Calgary. Had a bad week.
Well.
2-1.
Oh, wow.
They did not win a game. Losing to Colorado, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to the Kings in a shootout. And then St. Louis, like you just said.
Yeah. That's the first bad week for Calgary in a while, I believe.
Time.
Yeah.
40, 19, and 9.
Yeesh.
That's this season.
I can't believe they only have 40 wins.
Top of the Pacific.
Sorry, my dog just scratched me.
Yeah, she cheats.
Yeah, she's a cheater.
2 for 9 on the power play.
Wow.
3 for 6 on the penalty kill.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. 3 for 6.
What? Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got distracted because my dog also bit me.
Yeah.
3 for 6 on the penalty kill.
That's why I repeated it. I saw you get bit.
Thank you. Thank you for repeating that.
I saw you get bit.
Yeah. She's just playing. She didn't bite me for real.
So I want to make a correction of what I said last week about their 30 goal scorers.
Mm-hmm.
First to being second and third.
Mm-hmm.
I was wrong.
Oh.
They were first to have 3 and 4 30 goal scorers. Because it was Mangiapane.
Oh, gotcha.
Who has 30 goals as well.
Gotcha.
So.
How dare you be wrong on this show?
I do it all the time.
That like a dozen people listen to. At most. The
only injury. They don't get a top player.
Yeah, right. Going over on the season. Damn it.
Only injury is Sean Monahan.
Okay.
He had hip surgery, so he's done for the year.
Which I think some Calgary fans might not be that heartbroken over because he's not having a particularly good season. Sit down. Sit.
They are and they're not. They're upset because injuries have derailed his career.
Yeah.
So, but he has also been healthy scratched a lot this season. So, yes and no.
Yeah.
Keeping going to LA, second in the division, 2-1-1 this week. So they are fighting for their spot.
Yeah. They're trying to solidify their playoff spot.
38, 23, and 10. Not the most.
Mm-hmm.
Edmonton has more wins, but Los Angeles has more loser points.
Yeah. And as much as people might dislike it, those count. So. Yeah.
They lost to Seattle. They lost to Edmonton in the shootout. They beat Calgary in the shootout, like I said, and then they beat Winnipeg, like Bert said. 2 for 9 on the power play. 11 for 12 on the penalty kill. Alex Edler and Adrian Kempe both had 1 goal and 3 assists. So they're top player. They're kind of a dark horse. No one expected them to be this high.
Watch them beat Edmonton in the first round. Watch.
Edmonton's up next. We're going to talk about something with Edmonton.
Sure.
Because it's Edmonton. Edmonton was 4-0 this week.
Wow.
They did very well.
Look at them, yeah.
Beating Arizona, the Kings in that shootout, St. Louis in overtime, and then Anaheim outright last night. 40, 25, and 5. So
yeah, their record is great.
Great record. 2 for 8 on the power play, 10 for 11 on the penalty kill, which is what you want for Edmonton.
Yep.
Connor McDavid had 5 goals and 3 assists. Leon Draisaitl had 3 goals and 4 assists.
He was the second player to hit 50 goals this season.
Second player to hit 50 goals this season. Both of these 2 players have hit 100 points for the season.
Yeah.
I think McDavid is 105 and Draisaitl is 101. Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
McDavid has 40 goals too, so he hit his 40th
He'll
goal.
probably hit 50.
Oh, he'll probably hit 50. So between those two players, with 100 points each, the third highest player.
Oh God.
Oh, I can't remember who it is. It might be Nugent Hopkins.
Yeah, sounds reasonable enough.
I don't think it is. Third highest player has 47 points.
Yep, that sounds about right for Edmonton. Yeah. That sounds about right.
Excuse me. So,
yeah,
it's a disparage.
There's a
Disparaging
big
is
disparage.
a problem.
Oh yeah. That's the thing with Edmonton is and I've harped about, obviously I've gone on rants about Edmonton before. They just.
Do you want to check out Quant?
I was gonna pull it up here. They just don't. All of their scoring is basically from two guys, or most of it is anyway.
It's. And I knew that, but at the same time, it was just
it's pretty
shocking to see.
It's pretty shocking to see the difference. Give me 1 second. I'm just looking up who that is.
No worries.
It's Zach Hyman.
Zach Hyman.
Yeah.
I knew.
Nugent Hopkins is fourth with 43 points.
But Nugent Hopkins has been.
He's been hurt. Yeah.
So I will give them credit for that. But even then.
Yeah. So it's really kind of a. I don't know. It's kind of a recipe for disaster for Edmonton again, because if it seemed like likely they're probably going to play LA in the first round. Yep. They could probably beat LA.
They could beat LA. They could get bounced by LA.
But they could also get beat by LA. Yeah. So we'll see. Who knows? Maybe Draisaitl and McDavid just drag them far in the playoffs this year to the conference final, where I assume they would lose to Colorado. But I don't know. Stranger things have happened, like last year where they got swept by Winnipeg. So
we're gonna keep going to Vegas. Keeping themselves alive.
Yeah, they had a pretty good week, right?
3-0.
Yeah. They got to keep doing this at least until Dallas catches up in games played.
Shut out Seattle, then beat Seattle.
Mm-hmm. They played 2
games against Seattle. And then beating Vancouver in overtime.
Yeah.
39, 28, and 4.
Yep.
They're hanging in. Logan Thompson played the first 2 games, got a shutout.
Nice.
He has played the last 5 or 6 games in a row, as Brossois has been injured.
Yeah.
But Robin Lehter came back for the game against Vancouver.
Oh, did he?
Got his win.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Good.
0 for 7 on the power play.
Their power play has not been good this year.
No, it's been so bad. Alec Martinez is back.
Oh, yes.
Last week.
That happened last week.
He scored on themselves.
Did he really?
Basically, the tying goal for Vancouver to send it to overtime.
Lame. Welcome back, Alec.
5 for 6 on the penalty kill. Jonathan Marchessault had 3 goals and 2 assists. So that's their top player.
Yeah. He's pretty good.
Yeah, it's very good. 40 goals in Florida before he picked up at the expansion draft.
As we were talking about last night.
Stupid.
Stupid expansion draft.
We're going to keep going. Vancouver. They're done. After this week, they're done.
They're not technically eliminated yet, but it's going to be really
2-1.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to catch up.
Losing both their games to St. Louis, and that loss against Vegas. Yes, they got a point, but that's kind of the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard for them to catch up at this point. So they're all but eliminated right now.
Because you got to catch up to Dallas. And I don't think they can do it. They have to win out, basically.
Yeah. Or at the very least have an extremely good record going for the rest of the season.
1 for 6 on the power play. 6 for 7 on the penalty kill. They really turned that penalty kill around.
Yeah, those numbers aren't that bad. Yeah, firing their coach did wonders for that penalty kill.
Well, if they had done it sooner, maybe they'd be in a playoff spot.
Yeah. But, this is another team that I'm like, well, maybe look forward to next season,
100%.
Because they've obviously played. They could have a playoff spot right now if they hadn't dug them. I think I said this last week too. If they hadn't dug themselves such a hole before firing their coach and hiring Boudreau. Boudreau, say what you will against him,
for the playoffs.
He's a fairly good coach.
Oh,
he can get a lot out of his players.
He always has some of the best regular season teams.
It's just like once he reaches the playoffs is when, But, like,
even then, that's not necessarily on him.
Barry Trotz was like that, too.
100%.
When he was the coach in Nashville, people were like, yeah, they would have great regular seasons, but then they would flame out in the playoffs. But then he went to Washington.
He was going to get fired the season they won the Cup.
Yeah.
Mid-season, they were going to get fired.
Can you stop? Oh my God, you're the worst dog. Here's your stupid toy. No, do not squeak it. You're the worst dog.
So
you're so annoying.
It's unfortunate how their season started.
Yeah.
But it kind of seems like it's it for Vancouver.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Probably.
We're gonna keep going to San Jose. 0 for 3 this week. Losing to Arizona, Colorado, and Dallas.
No.
1 for 5 on the power play. 7 for 8 on the penalty kill.
That's pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah.
They're 29, 31, and 8.
Not good.
Got nothing to say.
Yeah, I mean, San Jose is another one of those teams that's basically all but eliminated.
They're
not mathematically eliminated yet, but they're eliminated.
They're also in a rebuild, or going to have to rebuild, so they're not going to be good for a while. Anaheim has fallen.
Yeah.
1-2-1 this week.
Yeah.
Losing to Dallas twice, once in overtime, shutting out Arizona, and then losing to Edmonton.
Do we want to talk about?
We're going to talk about it.
We'll talk about it at the end of Anaheim.
28, 31, and 12. They were 0 for 8 on the power play. 5 for 7 on the penalty kill. Not good. And in 3 games, Troy Terry is their top player with 1 goal and 3 assists. The reason he only played 3 games is because in the Arizona game,
some bullshit happened. So what happened was obviously that game was a shutout. Anaheim beat Arizona 5-0.
Yep.
They beat them pretty bad. But towards one of the later goals, I think, yeah.
It wasn't even a goal.
It wasn't?
No.
Oh, I thought he scored on that.
No, they did not.
Oh. Well, anyway, it was Zegras, right?
Zegras, Wedgwood made a save.
Mm-hmm.
Zegras kind of tried to dig the puck out from under Wedgwood.
Oh, I thought it happened. Didn't he score a Michigan goal?
He did score a lacrosse goal.
Oh, I thought it happened directly after that.
Yeah, it wasn't even.
I was mistaken.
It wasn't even close.
Oh, okay.
Because that lacrosse goal happened in the first or second period. This happened at the end of the third.
Oh, okay. I was mistaken about the timeline of events, but okay. So Zegras scored
In this, it was already 5-0.
Okay. Zegras scored a lacrosse-like goal. It was actually a pretty awesome goal.
It was so cool.
Yeah, real cool. But Arizona didn't like it, and the cement heads that play on that team didn't like it because they got embarrassed.
I wouldn't even say it was that. Personally, I think they were more upset that they.
The announcers.
Oh, the cement heads who were announcing were upset.
Zegras poked at the goalie or something later on in the game, and then
he took a cross check from Beagle, I believe.
Excuse me, yeah. And then Troy Terry came to defend his teammate, and then Jay Beagle beat the shit out of him.
Yes, he did.
They didn't stop the fight.
Yep.
I believe Troy Terry was on the ice, maybe, or something. But no. Either way, it should have been stopped.
So.
He wasn't even really fighting back.
He didn't drop the gloves. So Troy Terry, it was basically supposed to be a scrum. Just a scrum.
Yeah.
Nothing's supposed to happen. But Beagle dropped the gloves, started throwing uppercuts. At no point did Terry actually drop the gloves. Just trying to defend himself.
Yeah.
And
but Beagle kept going.
We've mentioned a couple of times in this past season about how there have been some fights that the refs have jumped in on.
Quick.
Between willing participants, super quick.
And then not.
And then this was clearly one guy who did not want to fight.
Yeah.
And the ref just stood there.
Yeah, and then the announcers for Arizona were like, well, that's what you get when you skill it up.
Oh, my God.
And it's just like, are you kidding me? I'm trying to swear less in our episodes, but like, are you fucking kidding me, man?
No,
it's just like.
I think more people were upset about that take than the
I think so. Yeah, I mean, it sucks. Jay Beagle probably should have been suspended at least for a game or two, or fined, but nothing happened to him.
He should be suspended.
Yeah, and Troy Terry has like a good. Like I saw the injury. He has a good. What's it called? Goose egg on his cheek from where he was getting punched.
Yeah,
right under his eye.
Really see out of that eye right now.
No, so like that take is so horrible and reductive to what the NHL should be.
He missed the Edmonton game, where they lost 6-1. He's got 30 goals this season already. He's questionable for the first game this week.
Yeah,
I think they might play tonight, but he's questionable for that. Because
it's
the swelling
just
goes
like.
down.
And this has been a divisive subject of hockey talking heads. Not so much with the fan base, because the fan base is like, yeah, no, we want more skill. Because the skill's impressive.
Yeah.
No one's watching hockey to watch some, like, older veteran guys just, like, clutch and hold guys the entire time and not play with skill. Now, Jay Beagle is fine. He's a fine player, but, like...
No,
You
Beagle...
know, nobody's watching the game... To see guys, to see, like, the New Jersey Trap from the early 2000s. No. That's boring as shit.
And, like,
more skill will bring in more eyes, you know?
I really like Jay Beagle for his time in Washington.
I know you do.
This past 2 years, would be only 2 years he's not been on Washington, or 3 years?
I think it's 3.
It's 2 years on Vancouver, this is his first
on Arizona.
On Arizona. This was bad.
Yeah, and that take by the announcers was extra bad. It's just like what? I don't understand why the older set of hockey people think that everybody wants to watch them just beat the crap out of each other. Like, yeah, okay, like people might get excited for a fight.
I want to see some fights, but I want to see like.
I also want to see sweet goals too. You know.
Yeah. I want to see willing participants.
Yeah, I want to see willing participants fight, not like a veteran player beating up a younger guy because they skilled it up, quote unquote.
Like, say what you will about, and again, Wilson should have been suspended for this Panarin incident.
Oh, last year. Yeah.
But Panarin dropped the gloves.
He did.
He engaged.
Wilson
took it too far, but like.
Honestly,
that was 2 willing participants.
And honestly, the weird thing about that was, and I think we talked about this in the preview episodes, maybe, but like with that whole incident, they could have just suspended Wilson for 1 game.
That's it.
Because the next game was also against the Rangers, and Wilson got quote unquote injured
after 2 fights.
Like
2 fights.
2 fights or 1 fight or like 5 minutes of gameplay or something. He left in the first period.
He did fight twice. But still,
they weren't anything remarkable, and it was just one of those things like, okay, oh yeah, he's hurt now, you know, and it's just like, well, why didn't you just suspend him for this game?
Right.
Like, who cares? Because at that point last year, the Rangers were out of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That game really didn't matter, and it was just like, just suspend him for that game. It doesn't matter.
And everyone was talking about it. It's like,
it would have calmed that game down.
The Rangers are gonna fight Wilson. That's all it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they knew that.
Yeah.
Everyone knew that.
It's just one of those. It's just I would much rather. And I actually saw a video of I forget her first name, but it's Botterill.
Yes, I saw that same video.
I can't remember her first name.
I can't either.
But she wasn't really having an argument with Bieksa, who is one of her talking. That's how you say his name?
Yeah. All right.
Who was one of her counterpart talking heads, but he was like, you know, if they still had Delorier, who they traded to Minnesota, he was like, this probably doesn't happen because Jay Beagle wouldn't do this thinking that Delorier was there. And she was like, I'm sorry, like, this just shouldn't be part of the game anymore.
No,
she was like, and Bieksa was like, yeah, but like, that's what it is right now. And she's like, well, the rules should change.
Yes, the rules should change.
And Bieksa didn't really disagree with her. You know, they weren't having an argument about it really, but I agree with her, and Bieksa might agree with her either.
No one liked what happened.
No. And it's just one of those things. It's like, if you let guys be skilled, I mean, first of all, if you called penalties the way that they're supposed to be called, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and back in the day, Ovechkin and Crosby probably would have been pushing 200 points.
Yeah.
But you don't call penalties correctly, and so you just let guys grab and hold skilled players and hold them back and all of this crap.
Then they get frustrated and spear.
And then Sidney Crosby chops off a guy's finger, and everybody's like, he should be suspended forever. And it's just well, what if they just called penalties correctly? It's a league-wide problem.
Trent Frederick gets 5 good cross checks into Ovechkin, and then Ovechkin spears him.
Yep, and they call the retaliation.
I don't even think they called that. Which isn't good either.
That's not good either. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like if they called penalties correctly, if they called especially cross-checks correctly, I think guys would get frustrated less. I think there would be less retaliation, obviously. There would be more power plays. And then people are like, oh, but it'll chase veteran players out of the league. It's well, they don't know how to play then.
It's like I've said, if you're going to manage the game, you got to let the guys fight.
There's that too. Yeah, let them fight because that's a pressure release in the game as well. But also, if one guy is definitely not going to fight, don't make him fight.
It's like when, I think Emery...
Oh, he beat up Holtby.
When he beat up Holtby,
he beat the shit out of Holtby.
Holtby
didn't want to fight.
Holtby didn't have any injuries, like Terry did. But he's clearly the refs were just watching it, and then they stopped other players coming to Holtby's defense.
And the worst part of that whole thing between Emery and Holtby was now they stop goalie fights immediately. And that's the worst thing, because goalie fights are hilarious when they happen.
Smith fought Cam Talbot in between.
There was one almost goalie fight
this year. Yeah.
It was an almost goalie fight, but they stopped them. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Talbot, but I don't remember who the other goalie was. But they were like, no, Talbot, get out of here. The refs were like, no, we're not having a goalie fight.
But that's when Dumba beat up on Raymond.
That's right. Yes, because they got distracted by Talbot, and Dumba just
wailed on Raymond.
Just wailed on Raymond, yeah.
Wailed on a 20-year-old.
Yeah. Anyway, that's another tangent of us complaining about the refs. The refs in every sport suck.
Every sport, I think
it's amazing.
From what I've heard, there's another.
They suck in different ways.
One of the problems is I think they fast-tracked a lot of former players because they can skate well.
Yeah.
Instead of
But they're the players that aren't that good. So they're like, oh, I'm gonna not call penalties because I do it.
Right.
That's just anyway.
There was a.
I can't wait. We'll have this exact same discussion when we get to the playoffs, and they call penalties at all.
Every week.
Yeah.
There was an incident in the Detroit-Ottawa game where a guy got a high stick.
Mm-hmm.
The linesman called it, and linesmen can only call injuries. They can't call penalties. But since there was no blood, no penalty.
I hate the NHL refs. I would, if I was in charge, if I was the commissioner of the NHL, I would purge all of the refs, and I would just be like, get all new refs and be like, call penalties, call them or you're fired.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily purge them, but definitely be like,
I would purge them.
Get rid of Peros and then be like, call penalties.
I would definitely get rid of Peros. Yeah. Anyway,
it's gonna be so fun when there's a CTE lawsuit against the NHL.
It's so much money.
And the head of the Department of Player Safety is
a goon.
Is a partner in a clothing line that's called Violent Gentleman.
Oh my God, is he really?
Yes.
First of all, that's a hilarious name for your clothing line. George Peros. Anyway.
Seattle. God damn it. 2-2 this week.
Hey, that was a really long tangent.
That's why I maxed out the speakers right there.
That's okay.
2-2.
Mm-hmm.
They had a good week for Seattle.
They did.
They are 22-41-6.
Wow.
I
a better record than Montreal. And Arizona, I think.
Smacking the Kings 6-1.
Damn.
Losing to Vegas twice, I said. Yeah. And then, like you said, they beat Dallas.
They did. 2 fairly impressive wins, actually.
Yes, actually.
Two wins against probable playoff teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're helping Vegas.
Yep. Unfortunate. Over 5 on the power play. 7 for a penalty kill.
Yep.
All right, this guy's Swedish, so I'm about to get his name wrong.
I'm so excited.
His name looks like it should be German. I'm going to say it like it's German. It's Alex Wenberg.
Oh, it is Wenberg.
It actually is Wenberg?
It is Wenberg.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
You say the W.
It was screaming at me. Yeah. It's just like, all right, cool.
I honestly forgot that he was on Seattle.
It's because he's Swedish. He just, like...
Is he really Swedish?
He's Swedish.
Oh, I didn't know that about him. For some reason, I thought he was Canadian.
Nope.
Yeah, but it is Wenberg. You do say the W.
I was doubling down on the German.
Hey, you got close enough.
2 goals and 2 assists.
Hey, that's pretty good.
And I'm done.
And you're done.
That's it.
Really long tangent. Seattle done in 45 seconds.
Well, we complain about the same things every week.
Yeah, it's, you know what, sometimes...
It's hard not to.
Listen, guys, we got to get it off our chest. And you're listening, so... Otherwise, me and Clay are just bitching at each other about it.
It's not healthy.
We can't do anything about it, so... All right, let's finish things off with the Metropolitan Division. A terrifying division, if I've ever seen one. Carolina went 2-1-1 this week. They did thump Washington, lost to Tampa Bay in overtime, shut out Montreal, and then they also lost to Minnesota this week. They are 45-16-8. They are number 1 in the Metro right now.
Carolina number 1.
Carolina number 1. And unless they skid real bad the next few weeks, they're going to end up number 1 in the Metro.
Yeah.
1 for 12 on the power play, 9 for 13 on the penalty kill. Not as good.
That
penalty kill's not as good.
It was just one of the games where they were.
It was mostly the Tampa Bay game.
Yeah.
They did give up another power play goal to Minnesota, but they gave up 3 to Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Teuvo Teravainen, who has one of my favorite names in the NHL, had 2 goals and 4 assists this week.
It's not Nino Niederreiter.
It is not Nino Niederreiter or Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Yep.
But Teuvo Teravainen is a pretty great name, too.
Yes.
Excuse me. Sebastian Aho also had 3 goals and 2 assists. Not the forward Sebastian Aho, not the defenseman Sebastian Aho.
But they scored at the same time.
They did, which is insane. It's insane that they have the exact same name.
And they're not.
And they're not related at all.
One's not even Swedish.
Yeah, one is off. Aho on Carolina is Finnish.
Yes.
And the Aho on the Islanders is Swedish.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yep.
Anyway.
I got to see Sebastian Aho play for Bridgeport.
Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah. Unfortunately, Jesper Kotkaniemi is out 2 to 3 weeks with an undisclosed injury.
Lower body.
It's, the website I looked at said undisclosed.
Yeah, but it was against the Caps game, and
he hurt his dick. Anyway, Columbus went 0-3 this week, dropping 2 games to the Islanders and a game to Boston. What?
The Kotkaniemi injury was a lot of controversy.
Was it? What happened?
I
don't even remember.
Eller hit Kotkaniemi with 2 seconds left in the game, 6-1 game.
Oh. Yeah, that's no good.
My thing is, it was completely clean hit.
Mm-hmm. But the game was already over.
Neither team was playing like the game was over.
Mm.
Like, Kotkaniemi was fighting for the puck.
They were still trying to fight. I got you.
It was in Carolina's offensive zone. So, like, there's 2 seconds left, but you're trying to score still.
I kind of get it. Washington's trying to, like, set a precedent probably for the playoffs, just in case Washington faces Carolina at some point. Which I understand, but it sucks that Kotkaniemi got hurt.
No, it sucks. It sucks that he got hurt.
Yeah.
But the hit wasn't bad.
Okay. Anyway, Columbus. 0-3.
Yeah.
They were 0 for 5 on the power play, 6 for 8 on the penalty kill, 32.
Ooh.
And 5.
I hope they stay
Columbus.
that way.
Yeah, I hope so too, actually. Not technically 500, but like it's kind of fun if they have the same wins and regulation losses. You know, they don't get a top player.
Nope.
They didn't win a game this week. Didn't have any injuries though, so you know, silver lining.
Does New Jersey get a top player?
Oh no.
No.
New Jersey did get a point this week.
Wow.
Yeah, in that game that they blew against Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But they also got thumped by Boston and did lose a closer game to the Islanders, which I watched the second and third period of yesterday.
Oh yeah.
And New Jersey almost blew that game.
Oh yeah, no,
because
we watched
they were up 3-0. And then New Jersey got it back to 3-2,
mm-hmm.
and then I believe the Islanders, you know, obviously they won 4-3, but New Jersey made it much closer than I think the Islanders wanted. New Jersey 0 for 7 on the power play, 7 for 9 on the penalty kill. They are 24, 39, and 6. They are in last place in the Metro right now.
Yeah.
Obviously they also got eliminated from the playoffs this week, like I mentioned before. Jack Hughes did have an injury in that Islanders game, but from what I've seen so far, they said it's a day-to-day injury.
Gotcha.
Thankfully, because it looked worse.
Oh,
it was kind of a knee on knee hit. I'm gonna say it was unintentional by the Islanders player, but
it's close. It's hard to say.
The only way that I saw it was in slow motion, and everything looks intentional in slow motion.
It kind of does.
So I'm going to say it was unintentional. So hopefully Jack Hughes, who is a superstar in the making, in my opinion,
he's already a star.
Is recovers quickly from whatever that
100%.
was, and hopefully it's just like a bruised knee or something like that. The Islanders went 4-0 this week.
Really?
Oh yes.
Good for them.
They beat Columbus twice, as I mentioned before, shut out the Rangers this week, and beat New Jersey, like I just mentioned.
Yes.
32, 27, and 9.
They keep beating the Rangers.
They do keep beating the Rangers. They were 2 for 12 on the power play, 11 for 11 on the penalty kill.
Trotz hockey's back.
Oh, yes. This is the team. I really think the Islanders are going to mess up the season. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're too far away from Washington. They are the last team out in the East right now.
Yes, they are.
That's how much they have turned their season around. Yeah. They're too far back, but I really do think at some point they're going to mess up the Metro standings for somebody. And it might be the Rangers.
Yes. And they're still playing Pittsburgh, but whatever.
They, I think, have one more game against Pittsburgh, but they have at least one more game against against the Rangers as well. But they have 2 top players this week.
Is it Parise?
No.
Really?
Matthew Barzal had 2 goals and 4 assists, and Semyon Varlamov was 3-0 this week with a 167 goals against average and a 952 save percentage and a shutout.
Good for him.
Oh yes.
Didn't Parise get a hat trick?
Maybe. I don't know.
Who caught the hat on the stick the other night? Last night.
Oh, that wasn't Parise. That was God damn, it wasn't Palmieri either. It was one of the older guys. I didn't write it down.
Begins with a P, doesn't it?
Oh, it was J.G. Pajot.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, allergies. Yeah, J.G. That was pretty cool, actually.
Oh, he caught that.
J.G. Pajot had a natural hat trick against New Jersey, which is pretty fun. And I think I've mentioned this before, but in case you don't remember, a natural hat trick is when you score 3 goals in a row.
Yes.
In the game. So that means not only do you score 3 goals for your team, but you score 3 goals for both teams in a row.
Yep.
The rarest hat trick, obviously, because there's only 2 types of hat tricks. But he had a natural hat trick, and it's hard to tell if it was the guy who threw it from the stands or J.G. Pajot doing it, but he caught a hat on his stick.
It looked like it was the guy. It looked like Pajot didn't move his stick.
Props to the guy who perfectly threw his hat onto the ice, and J.G. Pajot caught it on the end of his stick, and you could tell that when Pajot caught it on his stick, he looked at the guy and basically tipped that hat on his stick to the guy.
Yeah.
Because that was a pretty impressive throw.
Oh yes.
You keep that hat.
Yep. Or you sign it and give it back. Those are the only two options.
Yeah. So good on Pajot for having a natural hat trick. Those are always cool to see. The Rangers had an okay week. They went 2-1-1.
Mm-hmm.
They did beat Pittsburgh to start out the week, who they need to beat if they're going to have home ice advantage, because those two teams are almost definitely going to play in the first round.
Yeah, almost guaranteed.
Yeah, almost guaranteed to play in the first round. They did beat Detroit in overtime. However, they got shut out by the Islanders. And I actually wrote it wrong in my notes here. I said that the Rangers shut out the Islanders. I know it's wrong, though. And then they lost to Philadelphia in a shootout.
Last night.
Now, to be fair to the Rangers, they went down 3-0 to the Flyers and then came back to tie, but still lost in the shootout. But, that's shameful. Yeah. They are 40-20-6. I believe they are second place in the Metro right now.
Yes.
They were 2 for 9 on the power play, 10 for 13 on the the penalty kill.
Mm-hmm.
Artemi Panarin is their top player this week with 2 goals and 5 assists.
Breadman good.
Yeah. So, props to them for beating Pittsburgh, who they need to beat.
Yep.
But they lost a couple of games that they should not have lost.
Shesterkin showed some cracks.
Yeah, that's the thing I worry about the Rangers, is I still think even if Shesterkin basically regressed to the mean of how he would be playing, I think they would still be a playoff team.
Oh yes.
But I'm a little worried that it's the young goalie thing that I mentioned before with Boston. I'm a little worried that he might falter in the playoffs. Maybe not against Pittsburgh, but against Carolina or somebody like that, where he might crack and
I still see Pittsburgh. It's totally possible for Pittsburgh to bounce them in the first round.
Oh yeah, no. Look, I think it's 50-50 between Pittsburgh and the Rangers right now in that first playoff series. I really do. Because Pittsburgh's beat them once this year where they shut them out.
Mm-hmm.
The Rangers have won the last 2 games, which were the last couple of weeks. They
Yeah.
have another game this week coming up.
Yep.
Or this week or next week coming up. And, I think it's about 50-50 in that playoff series between those two teams.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with Shesterkin.
There's a good chance Shesterkin wins the Hart.
The Hart, I don't know. Goalie, it's hard for the goalies to win the Hart. He's definitely going to win the Vezina.
Oh, yes.
I feel like it's almost certain that he wins the Vezina. Unless in these next 3 weeks he goes 0-4, he doesn't win another game.
Right.
Then maybe Markstrom overtakes him, but even then, that's a maybe.
Yeah,
I think Shesterkin's going to win the Vezina.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Matthews is going to win the Hart. I really do. Just because
that's a good point.
It's Toronto. He's having a great season. He was the first player to 50. He's on track for 60+ goals. Matthews is a fantastic player.
Yeah.
So I really think Matthews is probably going to get the Hart.
As long as McDavid doesn't win it.
Yeah. I mean, McDavid's up there. Him and Draisaitl are definitely dragging Edmonton to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So, you could make an argument for that.
It's why they gave Taylor Hall the Hart.
Yeah,
so.
but if McDavid gets the Hart, I'm going to kind of call bullshit on that over Matthews or Shesterkin.
Yeah.
Shesterkin, I don't think
he's an outside chance.
He's an outside chance.
It's still a possibility.
My betting odds would be Matthews.
That's not.
Yeah. But if Matthews doesn't get it, I would kind of call bullshit on that. Yeah. Anyway, the Rangers they're gonna make the playoffs. Obviously.
100%.
The top 8 teams in the East are going to make the playoffs.
That's it. It's done.
Yeah, I mean, they're not technically clinched yet, but the next closest team is the Islanders, who I believe are 11 points behind Washington right now.
Right.
They're not going to make that up in 12 games. Unless they win out and Washington loses out. Yeah. Moving on to a team that is eliminated from the playoffs, the Philadelphia Flyers. Hey, they won a game this week.
Yeah, they did.
They went 1-2. They lost to Minnesota. They lost to Toronto. Both of those games by 3 goals. They lost. And then they beat the Rangers in a shootout, like I just mentioned.
Right.
So, at this point in the season, if you're a fan of a team that's not going to make the playoffs, what you're probably hoping for is that these teams fuck up something for one of your rival teams that are going to make the playoffs, which is what Philadelphia did in that shootout.
Yes, they did. It's great.
So the Rangers did get a point, but they didn't win.
Yep.
So, 22, 36, and 11.
It's only 22.
Yeah, it's only 22 wins for Philly. 1 for 9 on the power play, 6 for 7 on the penalty kill. They don't get a top player. But
are you going to talk about Yandel?
Yes. So I believe that was the Rangers game, right?
Yes. Yes, it was.
So Keith Yandel, who, I mean, if you really care about this, had the Iron Man streak in the NHL, but active Iron Man streak in the NHL, at 900 and something games played. 989?
Yes. Was it 989?
He had played 989 games in a row without getting injured or missing a game for any reason. The Flyers made the decision to bench him against the Rangers to, I guess, play some younger guys.
Yep.
He hasn't had a particularly good season.
Hasn't for a while.
So it's kind of hard to argue that he should have been playing other than the fact to keep his Iron Man streak going. I thought actually that he was sick earlier in the week with not COVID, but some sort of illness.
He played a shift.
And so it was kind of questionable, but he did play against Toronto. And then Philadelphia was like, whatever. And just didn't play him against the Rangers. And some people are mad, but like I kind of get it from Philadelphia's
what they
perspective.
Did,
that's the word I was looking
for. What Philadelphia did is they kept his Iron Man streak going so that he could retire this offseason with the highest active streak. I believe it's the record.
I'm not sure about that.
It might be a record.
Well, keep talking.
Because Phil
Kessel is next in line, but he cannot catch him this season.
So, they kept him playing as long as they could, so Phil Kessel wouldn't catch him this season.
Yeah.
And then Phil Kessel's going to catch him next season. And it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's not really... I don't know how many people really care about the Iron Man record, you know? Excuse me. Let's see. Is this active? Oh, yeah, no, he does have the record for 989.
Yep.
Phil Kessel is the next closest at 969. So Kessel will probably break it next year.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about Kessel when he was on Pittsburgh was, there's this whole thing about Kessel that's like, oh, he's fat. He's not fat.
It's a thyroid problem.
Yeah, it's a thyroid problem. It just makes his face round.
Yep.
So he kind of looks fat if you're just looking at his face. He's not.
No. He's a hockey player.
In just as good of shape as any other hockey player. But when he was with Pittsburgh, he came from Toronto, where they were brutal to him in Toronto.
Yep.
And one of the Pittsburgh sports beat people who specifically knows a lot about the Penguins, who's also kind of a chubby guy, was like, hey, you can't pull fat. It's just so funny. It's just such a funny thing about him.
Well, the fact that Phil Kessel in that first Stanley Cup win filled the cup with hot dogs.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Beautiful man.
If you guys don't know the whole epic story of Phil Kessel and hot dogs, you should go look that up because it's really funny.
Yep.
And it's not true at all.
Apparently, Toronto media trying to slander.
Toronto media trying to slander Kessel, and then his teammates in Pittsburgh went on record and been like, he doesn't even like hot dogs. And then when they won that first Stanley Cup, Phil Kessel went and played golf with the Stanley Cup, and he filled it with hot dogs like a fucking G.
Yep.
Oh man, my mom has the picture on her fridge because it's so funny. Anyway, let's keep going. Speaking of Pittsburgh, let's talk about Pittsburgh. They actually didn't have that great of a week. They went 1-2. Oh, and I didn't write down their overall record, but they're third in the division right now. They're, I believe, 2 points behind the Rangers. They did lose to the Rangers this week in regulation. They beat Minnesota in overtime.
Yep.
And then lost to Colorado in a pretty close game too.
Yep.
So Pittsburgh kind of had a brutal week of three very good teams. They did get a win out of it. So
that's what you want.
That's all you can really ask for is winning one of the games. That Colorado game was very frustrating because Pittsburgh kept tying the game and Colorado would score immediately afterwards. And then the Rangers game was very close too. So. Yeah. They were 2 for 9 on the power play, 3 for 5 on the penalty kill. Chris Letang had 4 assists, and unfortunately, Jason Zucker,
in his first game back,
came back against Minnesota, his former team, after missing 30 games. I think he also broke his leg earlier in the season, something like that happened.
He had hernia.
No, he had hernia. That's right. It was last year that he broke his leg that I'm thinking of.
Probably broke his leg this year.
He came back and got hurt against Minnesota again.
Yep.
Unfortunately, but silver lining, he is skating.
Oh, really?
So it wasn't that. It looked very bad.
I saw that.
It was a very questionable hit.
It's a little
I believe it was
cross check.
I believe it was Fiala.
Yeah.
On Minnesota who did it. Now it wasn't a super violent cross check.
No.
But he sort of just tapped Zucker from behind, which threw Zucker off enough that he fell into the boards and kind of did a split against the boards.
Yeah,
it looked bad.
It looked like his left leg.
But thankfully, I saw today he's not practicing with the team, but he was skating beforehand.
It's better than what it was.
So that is much better than it looked like. 100%. So hopefully Zucker is back before the playoffs. Obviously, I hope that because it'll help the Penguins, my team. But you hate to see shit like that where a guy's been out for like half the season, and he comes back and gets hurt immediately again. And it's just like, oh my god, this poor guy, So yeah, that's Pittsburgh. Washington, 0-2 this week. They only played 2 games. 0-2. They got thumped by Carolina.
They got thumped this week.
And then they got thumped by Minnesota again. They got outscored 11-2 this week.
Got thumped this week.
Not a good week by Washington. 37-22-10 is Washington. Now, as I mentioned before, they have an 11-point lead on the Islanders. But they can't have weeks like this. Well, the Islanders have weeks like they have had.
Right.
Not that I think the Islanders are going to catch Washington, but Washington's got to not have an 0-2 week again,
Not an 11-2 week.
Not an 11-2 week this going forward. They were 0 for 5 on the power play, 7 for 7 on the penalty kill. So all of those goals were 5 on 5.
Yep.
Which is bad. And they don't get a top player.
Nope.
They only scored 2 goals this week. So that's that.
That's this week.
That's this week. We're getting real close to the playoffs. Like we said at the beginning.
Month of May.
End of April is the end of the NHL season, and we're getting into the playoffs, which will be really fun and super frustrating, probably, for the 2 of us.
And then the first season of BuzzPlus will be done.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably do like a recap episode, or maybe we'll
figure it out.
Maybe we'll do like what we did at the beginning of the season, and where we had a preview episode per conference. Maybe we'll have a recap episode per conference at the end of the season. At the end of the season, like after the Stanley Cup and all of that. But we'll figure it out as we go.
100%.
But thank you guys for joining us. As always, you can follow us at BuzzPucks on Twitter if you have Twitter. Give us a
review, and subscribe.
Review, subscribe, whatever. And we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for listening.
Same puck time.
Same puck channel.
Bye-bye.
Bye.